So I get wondering sometimes, what is the point? What is the point of life? Well, we can take it in a negative if we choose, and we can say, well, none of it actually matters. What you do now isn't going to matter in 100,000 years. What we do then won't matter. You know, we're going through the motions. We can get on that roller coaster and go up and down and up and down and up and down. But there is things that matter. And why do they matter? Because they matter to you. They matter now. They matter to other people. And that should be the only thing that does matter, is what you do with the time that's given to you, as Gandalf says. On that note, though, the biggest thing that matters is the process, is the expression, is how you choose to be you, is how you choose to live your life. Because living your life is what matters. You're an expression of Source the infinite, Source the masculine that binds it all together. You're the feminine expression, the bride of Christ. You're going out and you're living your life and in the feminine essence of expression and seeing how you're going to be, choosing the lessons you chose to learn before you came here. All of that stuff is important. You're going to live as countless people throughout eternity. You're going to have lots of fun. You're going to do lots of things. You're going to experience so many different things. But who you are matters now, because with infinite possibility of being anything, anyone, you chose this version of you. You chose to express this version of you. And that is important, because if you weren't important, if this version of you was not important, you wouldn't exist. You wouldn't be. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be who you are. You wouldn't be expressing yourself as yourself. And that is the only purpose you have to live, is to live the best version of you. And there is no judgment of how you do that. You can choose to express yourself in any way. You gave yourself talents, abilities. You chose your parents. You chose your life circumstances. You came here to learn, absolutely. You came here to help other people learn. Sometimes some of the stuff you go through is literally for other people. And you say, oh, why did that happen? Well, it's actually to help somebody else learn something in your soul group. So there's so much that we learn, so much that we do just to help one another. But at the same time, we get to choose. You have infinite possibilities, infinite paths that you could go down, and you know them all. Your soul knows them all. Your higher self, your spirit, all of it knows all possible outcomes. Every decision you make, whether you're going to turn right or turn left, pick up your glasses, put them down. Pick up your mouse, put it down. I could have picked it up with my left hand instead. All of those are infinite possibilities, and your soul, your higher self, knows every single possibility in every moment, and it can see all the outcomes, almost like a tree branch. When you go through the tree, it's like whoop. It's like, here you are at the bottom, where my wrists are, and you have all these possibilities in every single moment. And let's say you choose this one. Okay, well, guess what? This one becomes this one. See? Now look at all the new possibilities. And so we know all of those possibilities exist, but we don't know which one we're going to choose until we decide to live. And so deciding to live is the important piece, is the piece that allows you to express yourself to the best of your abilities. Why does someone choose to keep getting up after being beaten down all the time? That's how they choose to express themselves. That's what they prefer. They prefer to be the person that gets up and picks himself up. And again, there's no judgment. You can prefer to get beaten down and just stay down, but what kind of life is that? But that wouldn't be something I would express. I choose to get up and keep fighting and keep going and keep doing things. No judgment to the people that sit on the bottom, but you can't complain if you're not going to, do something about it. in that sense, obviously, there's a lot of things that go into everybody's expression, and no judgment from a high perspective, but from a personal perspective, that's not how I would choose to live. And I've been beaten down. I've had all the things happen to me. Business things, family things. It's all, we've all have stories, right? And so it's, who are you going to decide to be at the end of the day? What are you going to choose to do with the time that's given to you at the end of the day? So expressing yourself is critical. It's creation isn't here. You don't have a test. There's no test at the end of the day to see how you did. Obviously, you'll go through a life review and see, if you were more negative, you're going to experience that side and say, oh, you know what, maybe I don't want to do that next time. Maybe I should run my race a little better, a little more authentic. But being authentic is the purpose. Your body isn't just trying to learn. The point of being in a body isn't just to learn or to taste or to feel, or to rage, to love. It's to experience all of it. It's to allow yourself to go through the process of feeling, of raging, of loving, of building, of laughing. It's not just to learn. Sorry, I kind of said that a little weird. Then you have experience. When you're going through, I just have some notes, so you see me looking down. When you're going through, the point of incarnation is to have these experiences that you can't have as pure spirit. So eating a meal. I don't know if you've seen The Matrix. I believe it's Cypher. He betrays everybody because he knows that that steak is fake, but he still wants to experience that. So that is a part of being here, of being in the Matrix, of expressing yourself, because you get to allow yourself to experience things in a physical form that you're not going to necessarily experience in spirit. So you don't get to wrestle with money. You don't get to wrestle with doubt. You don't get to wrestle with all of these things. You don't get to run a business. You don't get to, get in a car accident. You don't get to have that recovery time and see what you're made of. You don't get to go through those things in spirit. So the only way to do it is to have a physical experience. And the reason why we have those is, again, Source itself. You are a piece of Source, and it wants to experience it. You, at your core, chose to be here, and that's why you're here. You can blame somebody else, but at the end of the day, it's all you. So the other piece is choice, right? Choice is a learning piece, but the bigger point is choosing. So when you choose, you give. Spirit knows all. So when you choose, you get to choose what to embody. The choice is what makes your thread unique. It's what allows you to experience it. So when you have all those paths, you're saying, I'm going to choose. Because when you choose, you put intention behind something. So again, by not choosing something, you're still choosing. So just remember that, when you choose not to, or when you choose to ignore something and not make a decision, you're making a decision by doing that. And so you're giving power to non-choice and to letting the fates decide and to letting that stuff. Whereas like when you are actively choosing and you're putting action behind those things, you're going to see different outcomes. But that's what gives uniqueness in the infinite tapestry of life. All of the unique things. Somebody had to make this, right? Somebody had to make this. Somebody had to take a photo of this and decide to put it in a picture, and I resonated with it. Somebody had to make this guy. This guy is sick. Look at him. Somebody had to think that up, make it, and then I decided to buy it because it resonated with me. So how do you choose to express your unique self? How are you going to choose to express yourself when you're going through, when it takes you years and years and years to build a business, when it takes you all this hard work to put a family together and keep a family together, when you put all this years into your education, into your schooling, and all the things that you learn, you're actively making those choices, and that is the point. The point is the process. The point is going through and expressing your unique self the way you want to express yourself. So when you feel that desire, that pull that goes beyond just a dopamine hit to do something, well, you should probably do it because that's your core being, that's your core self allowing you to follow that journey. And that journey is important. And you might not see how this piece over here connects to this piece over here. It might seem totally different, but actually you have to learn this piece. So you have to express yourself through music. You have to do this, you have to do that. And then all of a sudden, you have this, like, I don't know why you really want to build something. You really want to build a house, or you really want to do this physical labor, and you don't know how they connect, but eventually all that's doing is merging back in. You're expressing yourself, and you're learning more, and you're building more of your character. And eventually you might see that, they might be separate, but they might end up connecting in some way, right? We don't know that. Our higher self does, but we don't know that. So if you don't choose to follow those things, you're not going to be able to build this, to experience all the wonderful things that you've planned for yourself already. So again, I'm just going through my notes, but without your choice, everything is just potential. Okay? By choosing, you give weight and meaning to it. Because if you didn't give that, it would go unnoticed. It would be this whole thing that all of a sudden it just passes you by. So you can sit in contemplation your whole life. A lot of monks get into this spot where they just sit in contemplation and they ruminate and they think about all the mysteries of life, and yet they forget to live. And if you forget to live, well, you've chosen to live by not living, and so you miss all the beauty of life, unless you're actively choosing to express yourself in that way. By just not choosing, by not giving choice, by not giving weight to things, you miss all the wonderful opportunity that you have. And so it's so important that I always tell people when we're working on their purpose or we're working on these things, it's like the only purpose is to express yourself in the most, unique way that you would want to express yourself, to live that life, to live your life as best you can. And so you get to define your own purpose. I didn't wake up one day and just be like, oh, I want to do this and this and this. Some people have that, but I'm actively choosing to say my life has meaning. I'm trying to, help 1 billion people. I'm trying to spread awareness. I'm trying to bring spirit down into a digestible chunk that people can understand, that becomes practical wisdom.